You took the weekend off. Properly off, no deadlines, nothing urgent, nowhere to be. Saturday moved slowly. You slept in by your standards, which means you woke up at 7 instead of 6. You made coffee the way you actually like it. You sat somewhere quiet. And somewhere around mid-morning, with nothing demanding your attention, you noticed something uncomfortable. You didn't feel rested. You felt like someone who was resting incorrectly. Like you were doing it wrong. Like there was something you should be doing with this time that you weren't. The stillness didn't feel like relief. It felt vaguely like a problem you hadn't identified yet. That feeling has a name. It's not laziness. It's not ingratitude. And it's not because you're bad at relaxing, though you've probably told yourself that so many times it started to feel like fact. Here's what's actually happening. Your nervous system has been running a background program for so long that it no longer recognizes the absence of that program as peace. It registers it as a gap. And gaps, to a brain that has been trained for decades to treat stillness as an early warning sign, feel like something is about to go wrong. You grew up in a specific window of time. Old enough to remember when things were slower, young enough to have absorbed the full weight of the speed up. You watched the world shift from something you could mostly keep up with to something that required constant management, and you adapted. Of course you adapted. That's what your generation does, quietly, without making it a whole thing. You absorbed the new pace, added it to the existing load, and kept going. The problem is, adaptation doesn't mean resolution. It means you got good at carrying it. And there's a particular cost to getting good at carrying something. After long enough, you can no longer tell what you weigh without it. Psychologists use the term allostatic load to describe the cumulative wear on the body and brain from sustained stress over time. Not crisis stress. Not the acute kind that spikes and resolves. The low-grade, chronic, background kind. The kind that doesn't feel like stress anymore because it's been ambient for so long it just feels like Tuesday. Your allostatic load, if you're somewhere in the Gen X bracket, has been accumulating since roughly the late 1980s. You've been managing it across career pivots, relationship shifts, aging parents, children who needed things, institutions that stopped working the way they were supposed to, and a cultural conversation that mostly forgot you existed somewhere between the millennials and the boomers. Rest should discharge some of that load. That's what it's designed to do. But here's what most people never tell you. Rest only works if your nervous system believes the threat has actually passed. And if your nervous system has been treating ordinary life as a low-level threat for 30-odd years, a quiet Saturday doesn't change that signal. The alarm is still running. You've just turned down the volume slightly. This is why you can sleep 8 hours and wake up behind. Why a holiday leaves you needing a holiday. Why the weekend somehow makes Monday feel further away but not actually lighter. It's not a discipline problem. It's not a mindset problem you could fix by thinking differently about rest. It's a physiological pattern that has been reinforced so consistently for so long that your body genuinely doesn't know what fully off feels like anymore. There's a specific thing that happens to people who've spent years being the functional one, the one who holds things together, who handles the logistics, who doesn't make their problems everyone else's problem. They develop what researchers call hypervigilance, not the clinical kind necessarily, but a low-level version of it, a permanent background scanning, checking for what's wrong, what's coming, what's about to need handling. It runs below conscious thought. You don't notice yourself doing it. But it is running. Every idle moment, the scan is still going. And the scan consumes energy, quietly, invisibly, continuously. So when you sit down on a Saturday morning with your coffee and nothing pressing, you're not actually idle. You are running a system check on your entire life, the relationship, the money, the thing your body has been doing lately that you haven't made the appointment about yet, the conversation you need to have that you've been moving to next week for 4 weeks. The scan finds these things immediately, the way a tongue finds a loose tooth, not because you're anxious by nature, but because the habit of readiness has become structural. It's load-bearing now. Here's the uncomfortable part. A lot of Gen X specifically was handed this pattern as a value, not a warning. Independence was the virtue. Handling things yourself was the mark of a person worth taking seriously. Needing was weakness. Asking was imposition. And they didn't just hear this from parents, they heard it from a culture that romanticized the self-made and quietly pathologized the needy. So the hypervigilance didn't feel like a symptom. It felt like character. It felt like who you were supposed to become. And in many ways, it worked. It produced capable, resourceful, quietly reliable people who could absorb a lot of difficulty without making a scene. It also produced people who don't know how to put down the weight even when someone offers to hold it, who apologize for being tired, who feel vaguely guilty on rest days, who describe themselves as bad at doing nothing, as though that's a charming personal quirk and not an alarm worth listening to. The exhaustion that doesn't lift isn't laziness failing to correct itself. It's a nervous system that never got the signal that the long emergency was over, and in fairness, no one sent that signal. Because the pace didn't slow down, the demands didn't drop, the cultural message didn't change. You just got older inside it, carrying more, with a body that recovers more slowly and a brain that was never told it could stop scanning. What would help, and this is not a quick fix because there aren't any, is less about adding rest and more about teaching your system what safety actually feels like from the inside, not the absence of demands. That's rare and temporary and doesn't actually land as relief anyway, but small, deliberate moments where you are not preparing for anything, not recovering from anything, not managing anything, where the body gets consistent evidence over time that stillness is not the quiet before something, that it is just quiet. That shift is slow. It does not happen in a weekend, but it does happen if you stop waiting for the conditions to be right before you allow it. The conditions have never been right. You know that by now. The inbox was never empty. The to-do list never fully cleared. The moment when everything would be handled enough to finally rest properly, that moment has been about 2 weeks away for the last 15 years. You're not bad at resting. You became very good at not resting, and you did it so thoroughly and for so long that the two got confused. That's worth knowing, even if what you do with that knowledge today is just sit with it for a minute, maybe with coffee, maybe somewhere quiet, without solving it. That counts. If this landed somewhere specific for you, there's a link in the description to a set of 7-day guides built around exactly this kind of thing. Not information about rest and recovery, but daily structured actions designed to actually move the needle on the patterns that make rest feel impossible. Clearing mental backlog, resetting the dopamine system, building the kind of sleep that actually recovers you. It's practical because that's what works for people who already know the theory. It's in the pinned comment too if you want to take a look, and if you want more of this, subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.